Today, I want to talk to you about the fact that digital transformation is going to continue being a top priority for most companies and C-suites in 2024. The approach towards upskilling teams is going to continue being misguided, and this could be dangerous for you. This means that you need to take the digital curriculum into your own hands if you want to be successful, and I'm going to show you how to do that in this episode. Welcome to the Tech for Non-Techies podcast. I'm your host, tech entrepreneur, executive coach, and Chicago Booth MBA, Sophia Matveeva. My aim here is to help you have a great career in the digital age. In a time when even your coffee shop has an app, you simply have to speak tech. On this podcast, I share core technology concepts, help you relate them to business outcomes, and most importantly, share practical advice on what you can do to become a digital leader today. If you want to have a great career in the digital age, this podcast is for you. Hello, smart people. How are you today? How is your 2024 going so far? You know, I prefer to ease into the new year and to take my time and to reflect and to really envision what I want my year to be. And I think this tendency that people have to attempt to change ourselves entirely, which is so popular in early January, it's actually quite damaging. I don't think you need a new year, new you doctrine. If you're listening to this podcast, you're clearly a person who's curious, you want to learn, and you are dedicated to your professional growth. And I think that's pretty good. So you're impressive. I don't think you need an entire personality overhaul. Being clear about your aims, though, and how they fit into the wider vision of your life is useful. And this is why I am in favor of New Year resolutions. A New Year resolution is a goal to solve for. If we don't have a goal, we don't know what problem we're solving for, right? So, for example, if your aim is to work with a new tech client this year, you know that you need to learn something about what they do. You need to understand how to market to them, how to build a relationship with the CEO, and to close that deal. You need to learn that that's the goal you're solving for. Or maybe your aim is to get promoted this year. And again, you know what to solve for. Even if you don't know each step towards getting that promotion, you probably know what the next step is today. But the thing is, when I see people making like 10 resolutions, and those resolutions are focused on reducing weaknesses rather than making most of their strengths, I get really wary. Firstly, because it's not going to work. And secondly, it will be really miserable to try to make it work. And I'm telling you this because I see this behavior, especially amongst high-achieving smart people, i.e., the people who listen to this podcast. You already know how to push yourself. You already know how to make yourself do things that you don't like doing. And so you just pile on more stuff that you don't like doing. But professionals and organizations that focus on making the most of their strengths, they perform better than those that focus on just mitigating their weaknesses. There is actual research to back this up. I am not just creating this out of thin air. So, my dear smart listener, to make a realistic but ambitious plan and to learn a vital professional skill set for the digital age, I suggest you join my Design for Growth program on the 28th of January. This program begins with a workshop, which is two main parts. There are two main parts in this workshop. So first, you will learn design thinking principles in this live workshop, and I will cover them, and I will also have help from a really cool lead designer. And then in the second part of our live workshop, we will use these principles to create a plan of action for your best year yet. You can use the Design for Growth program to create a new product, to launch a grow venture, or to transform your career. And I've used design thinking for all three, and it works. And as well as this workshop on the 28th, you will also get a class on how to get headhunted so you can make opportunities come to you this year. And we'll do that in February. And all of this is online, so you can grow your network and learn new skills without leaving your house. And there's also a bunch of bonuses that are all in the program description at techfornontechies.co/events and in the show notes. This is going to be a really small group, so everybody can get feedback and coaching from me and the lead designer. And also it means that you can make genuine connections and form new friendships and grow your network. So it's going to be awesome. Make sure to get your space before all the seats are sold out. Now, in today's episode, I am going to share my second prediction for 2024. And then next week, you're going to get my final prediction in this mini series of predictions. The first prediction that I shared with you was about the rising importance of closed large language models. And I also said that these closed large language models are going to be industry or company specific. And I also talked about which industries these models are going to disrupt first. It was a really good episode, even if I say so myself. So have a listen if you haven't listened yet. Today, I want to talk to you about the fact that digital transformation is going to continue being a top priority for most companies and C-suites in 2024. The approach towards upskilling teams is going to continue being misguided, and this could be dangerous for you. This means that you need to take the digital curriculum into your own hands if you want to be successful, and I'm going to show you how to do that in this episode. I saw a report on what's on the mind of the top global CEOs as we enter 2024 from a company called McKinsey. They're a super fancy consultancy, and it says that digital and AI are going to be at the top of the CEO's agenda this year. I mean, yes, obviously. I think that's obvious anyway. But what is less obvious is how leaders' attitudes towards digital transformation has changed over the years. So listen to this. McKinsey says that as the digital era enters middle age, most companies have at least started a digital and AI transformation. So they've started it. But few are getting the results they want. That's usually because they haven't done the fundamental organizational rewiring needed to extract maximum value from the hard work of digitizing the enterprise. And I've pasted the link to the CEO study in the show notes. And listen to what they say. So they're basically saying that companies are investing, they're doing these projects. It's really hard work. And, hard work means hard cash. A lot of money is being spent on these projects. But something is going wrong. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you would have heard my episodes on why digital transformation goes wrong so often. And in fact, according to another piece of McKinsey research, around 70% of digital transformation efforts fail to meet their goals. And this is really expensive because a digital transformation effort for, a major company is going to cost it millions upon millions per year. So when it doesn't go right, you're literally losing millions and the key people could be losing their jobs or at least not getting a bonus. So listen up. There are several reasons for why this happens, but in my experience, really there are two main factors. So factor one, why digital transformation efforts go wrong, is because that particular effort is focused on upgrading technology rather than on serving the customer. So this means that it's a top-down approach, maybe suggested by McKinsey, and that approach could be all about cost saving and efficiency. And my dear smart person, do not get me wrong, efficiency is a wonderful thing. I run a very lean business and I love it. But to have a successful business, you need satisfied customers. And what do you need to have satisfied customers? You need to think about them. You need to understand them. You need to anticipate their needs. And this is actually something that designers do really well, which is why I keep on going on about the benefits of learning from them here. And if you haven't yet, make sure that you get your seat at Design for Growth because it is happening so soon. So one of the biggest reasons digital transformations fail is that they are not focused on the customer, but focused on whatever the corporate priority is. And to run a successful enterprise, you need a mix of both, right? You need top-down corporate strategy and you need bottom-up user focus. So while digital and AI will remain a priority for company leaders this year, those that only have this top-down corporate strategy approach will continue having problems. And the second reason digital transformations don't meet their goals is that the organization has not prepared its people properly. So I'll just read a bit of that quote out again. It says, few organizations are getting the results that they want. That's usually because they haven't done the fundamental organizational rewiring needed to extract maximum value from the hard work of digitizing the enterprise. So what is this hard work of digitizing the enterprise? Well, it includes training people properly to succeed in a company going through digital transformation. And this is really important. You could have the most insightful strategy. You could have the best technology. You could even have really great customer insights, so you could really use design thinking. But if all of this excellence is hidden in different pockets of the company, an expensive digital transformation effort will not succeed, and that sucks. Most companies approach their upskilling efforts really badly. And this even includes the big tech players. So if you're listening to this and you work in a traditional company, maybe, I don't know, maybe in a law firm or in a bank, and you're thinking, oh, Google is getting it right. Let me tell you, let those rose-tinted glasses come off. I know this because big tech employees often sheepishly come to Tech for Non-Techies and take Tech for Non-Techies courses and basically surprise me with their digital knowledge and the confusion that they feel around their colleagues. And this is not a criticism of those students. This is not their fault, because nobody comes out of the womb knowing how a back end is different from a front end. If you are a non-technical employee in a tech company, often those tech companies don't actually train those people and don't help them understand the broader context of what is happening. They just say, okay, you're a lawyer, go sit there and do your legal job. And this is why those people come to Tech for Non-Techies. So in my experience, the big tech players aren't getting it right, and the large companies are not entirely getting it right either. So my advice to you as my listener is to take your curriculum into your own hands, because you could be in a super insightful company that has a really thought out approach. But in case you're not, at the end of the day, you are an adult, you're responsible for your own success. And this level of responsibility, which I'm advocating here, it requires sophisticated thinking and discernment. This requires thinking for yourself and withstanding the pressure to sign up to useless courses. It is January as I'm recording this, so I know many of you are trigger happy, let's say, and to sign up to everything under the sun. You might do that, and then how are you going to feel in February? Slow down and think. This goes for corporate decision makers too. Now, what I often see happen when there is a new technology being hyped up is that corporates start teaching people courses on how to use that technology, but they don't tell them why they need that technology or how that technology fits into the broader strategy of the company or the industry. So I'll give you an example that I've seen several times. There are corporate training programs that offer you the opportunity to learn Python. And this could be a really wonderful thing, or it could be totally useless and painful. I don't know. You don't know. If you don't know what Python is and who uses it and why they use it, you do not have context. And in my experience, corporates, business schools, and training centers like to offer courses that go deep on a particular skill without telling you what that skill is or why you need it. So think about it. It's like teaching somebody to make a super brilliant surgical stitch, but then giving you no knowledge of the human body or of medicine, and basically not telling you why that stitch needed to happen in the first place. Like, why did this person need an operation and why did we need to stitch them up? So think about it. A surgeon knows how to make a stitch, but that's not how they started their medical training. They began with an overall understanding of the human body. And like a surgeon, when it comes to the digital age, don't start with a surgical stitch. Don't start with like a really, really deep skill. Get a holistic understanding before going deep into a specific subject area. The thing is, for a corporate or for a training center, it is easier to sell a course on a specific skill, like learning ChatGPT prompts. Because, for example, if you've tried using ChatGPT, which I highly recommend, you will see that if you don't give it good prompts, you're going to get pretty bad results. So it is then reasonable to think, okay, I'll take a course. And, I've taken a course on ChatGPT prompts and it was helpful. But selling a ChatGPT course for business strategists or for marketers or for salespeople, that is a pretty easy sell. That's pretty easy to convince people that they need this. This tendency to kind of go deep as opposed to really think in context goes back to the Industrial Revolution, because it is the digital age equivalent of saying, our factory has a new machine, so to be successful in our factory, you need to learn how to use this machine. Well, my role here is not to teach you to be the best user of a particular machine. The person who is the best machine operator does not rise to the top. They're not in the C-suite, they're not the CEO, they're usually not the CTO, so not the Chief Technology Officer, The machine operator is not the partner leading an account, or they're not the strategic advisor that the CEO calls on. If you want to be the best machine operator, this podcast is not for you. If you want to be the best strategic leader, and if you see yourself at Davos or in the boardroom, then this podcast is for you. So, as companies invest more and more in digital transformation, upskilling their teams is also going to be top of the agenda. For you, I suggest you approach this with discernment and use your time and your budget wisely. And here is how I suggest you create your digital curriculum this year. So first, learn to understand how traditional businesses differ from digital-first businesses. What key concepts are different and what key concepts are the same? So for example, the way digital teams measure success is different to how traditional businesses measure success. If you don't know what I'm talking about, but you've learned Python, then you're not going to be strategic leadership material and you're not going to be strategic advisor material. So remember, focus on your aim. Your aim is not to be the best machine operator in the world. Don't get lost in the weeds. Another key skill set for you to learn is how to identify problems that need to be solved and why they need to be solved. And this is basically design thinking. Because think about this, technologies change. Tech hype comes and it goes. But the skill of identifying the right problem to solve amongst a myriad of options was as useful to Genghis Khan and to Catherine the Great as it is to Tim Cook and Satya Nadella today. And finally, my dear smart listener, after you learn the core differences between a traditional business and a digital-first business, and after you've learned to identify problems, then the next thing to do is to get a holistic overview of how a tech product goes from idea to scale. So who do you need to work with first and why? Usually the first expert you need is a designer or a researcher and not a developer. Do you know why? Do you know what happens once a product is released? Like, for example, if Uber releases a new version and it just automatically updates on your phone, do you know what Uber are looking for? Do you know what their next steps are? Understanding that is going to be really, really helpful if you want to be a successful leader in an economy that now basically has been completely upended by tech. Because once you have a holistic overview of how a product goes from idea to scale, then you can make smart, informed decisions on what you need to learn next, on whom you need to hire, on how to spend your budget, and what you need to do. So to sum up, my dear smart listener, digital transformation is going to be top of the CEO's agenda in 2024. And this also means that education programs around it are going to keep growing. And this is a good thing because I'm all for us getting better and us getting smarter. But you are going to be bombarded with options and many of them are going to be cul-de-sacs. I do not want you to take cul-de-sacs. I want you to move towards your aims. So be clever here. Do not get swept up in other people's agendas because they are unlikely to be as thought through as what I'm giving you here. So think for yourself. Use the information that I've given you, understand the context that you're working in, understand your aims, and create that curriculum for yourself and for the needs of your organization if you are in a corporate leadership position. And if you would like some sophisticated help with this, then get in touch and let's have a chat. I would love to help you. I teach tech and innovation concepts, as you already know, because you're listening to this podcast. But what I also really love doing is creating education programs to skill up entire organizations for the digital age. I find that fascinating and I love doing it. So if this is something that you're interested in, get in touch. All the details to get in contact are in the show notes or just reach out to me on LinkedIn. As always, my dear smart person, thank you for lending me your ears today. I'm so grateful for your attention and I'm really excited about what 2024 is going to bring us. Have a wonderful day and I'll be back in your delightful smart ears next week. Ciao!